fighting here.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Alchemist Prime, one of the original 13 created by PRIMES to fight back against Unicron, and more commonly known as Maccadam, a Cybertronian bartender who recently appeared in the Transformers Cyberverse series and was once a demigod with dominion over the elements. And I've got to say that so far these primes have been incredible. Firstly, there was Primer Prime, who fictionally is the leader of the 13 and was such a solid first entry into the line. Secondly, Solus Prime, the legendary wielder of the Forge and arguably one of the cleanest looking female Transformers ever made. Then Megatronus the Fallen, easily one of the most substantial leader class figures to be released over the past few years. So I think it's safe to say that any of the 13 to be released are highly anticipated, with this guy being no exception. Now in terms of the design, much like the previous primes, this appears to be almost an amalgamation between multiple different interpretations of Alchemist, with how he appeared in Cyberverse being the one that he takes the most inspiration from. The head sculpt, on the other hand, is incredibly quirky and seems to be a fusion between the original Maccadam design and his look from the Covenant of Primus, which did have his legendary artifact, the lenses, permanently fused to his optics. Proportionally, he's also built to look a lot like Cyberverse Maccadam, even sporting subtle details which are a near one-to-one match to his design. And as we spin him around to the back, he is incredibly clean, with barely any of his vehicle mode visible, which is awesome, as to my knowledge, much like the majority of the 13, this guy fictionally has never actually transformed. He is also for the most part really well built, with, to be fair, not too many visible hollow joints. The only areas to really watch out for would be these tiny tabs on his shoulders, mainly when transforming him back from vehicle into robot mode. But besides that, this is yet another incredibly solid entry into the lineup of primes, and with the exception of Star Optimus Prime, if the remaining members are anything like what we've seen so far, then this might just end up as being one of the strongest and most unique set of characters to be released into the mainline. Flying through the accessories of Alchemist, much like the previous primes, he includes his ancient artifact, which is the legendary lenses. These fictionally give him the ability to see beyond the physical realm. It's also been alluded to by the design team that once all 13 artifacts are complete, that there will be something maybe additional that can be formed, and I am definitely curious to see as to what role these will play. But in addition to being combined, they can also be separated to create individual handheld weapons, or can even be mounted onto the forearms to act as additional armaments for Alchemist to use to fend off against Unicron. Turning to posability to see whether or not this prime has the touch, I've got to say that for the exception of the lack of wrist joints, this guy's surprisingly pretty solid in this department. To begin with, the head is on a ball joint. This can look up, down, and rotate left to right. The shoulders can kick forwards, backwards, and completely out to the side. The biceps can spin, with the elbows being able to bend to 90. As mentioned previously, there is unfortunately no wrist rotation, but the waist should have no issues in spinning side to side. His hips can kick forwards, backwards, and completely out to the side. The thighs can rotate, with the knees being able to bend to 90. Then finally, the ankle can rock inwards. But to really see the true power of this prime, let's now put him through the pose test. Firing through some robot mode comparisons and going in order from tallest to smallest, first up is Megatronus the Fallen, the Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime, Voyager Class Primer, Vector Prime, Transformers 1 Sentinel Prime, Deluxe Class Optimus Prime, Megatron, Solus Prime, then finally the 86 movie Bumblebee. Leading the way into this guy's transformation, for the first step, take the fists and fold these into the forearms, although be sure not to push them in all of the way, otherwise you do run the risk of stressing out the plastic. Take his shoulders and raise them up. The chest plate can now pop open to allow the head to fold inside. You'll then take the torso and spin this all the way around until the back now faces the front. Spin down to the legs and pop the shins open, with again the same applying for the second side. We can now take the feet and fold them up. At this point, take both halves and combine them directly down the middle, then bend backwards at the knees, as what you'll now do is pop the shoulders down and rotate them up. We can then take both sides and flick them back, as these also will combine directly down the middle. You'll then take the back half of the truck and fold this up, with these panels following closely behind. Then you'll take the windshield and firstly pull it back, then secondly flip it forward, then finally snap it back, and that is the transformation now fully complete. Rolling out onto the battlefield, here is Alchemist Prime now fully transformed into his Cybertronian truck mode. Although, as we whack up an image of an armoured SUV, that really does appear to be the vehicle mode that this design takes a lot of inspiration from. And it's definitely slightly more Earth-based in its design in comparison to what we've seen from the previous Primes, making me think that we could be potentially looking at perhaps a pre-tool for an upcoming character that would fit this style of vehicle a lot better in comparison. But for the time being, front, side to back, despite fictionally never transforming, this is an incredibly solid truck mode. Now don't get me wrong, it would have been nice had the fists been able to fold in even further to better match up with the actual instructions, but as they are, honestly, I don't think they look so bad. As mentioned previously, the lenses can either be split to this time form additional weaponry for the vehicle mode, and despite all four wheels being clipped into place, he should surprisingly have no issues in ramming his way through his enemies. Racing through some vehicle mode comparisons. Up first is yet again Megatronus the Fallen, the Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime, Voyager class Primer, Deluxe class Optimus Prime, Megatron, Solus Prime, then finally the 86 movie Bumblebee. So, wrapping up on this review for the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Alchemist Prime. In all, the figure is yet another incredibly solid entry into the lineup of Primes. The robot mode, despite taking inspiration from multiple different looks, is an incredibly good looking design. His build quality too, for the most part, is pretty decent, with the only points really worth watching out for being those tiny tabs on his shoulders. Even the truck mode, despite fictionally never making an appearance, is yet again another really well done design. And I guess the same can also be said for his legendary artifacts, the lenses. Despite being made out of a clear plastic, these are fully decked out with some really interesting details. And if what the designers say are true, then I am definitely excited to see as to what role they may or may not have to play in the future. But I would love to get your thoughts on Alchemist Prime. Be sure to sound off below and let me know. As always, I thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Transform and roll out!